Deputies in Virginia arrive to check on a man acting erratically, and the moment they approach the house, he emerges with a loaded gun aimed straight at them.
Now!
No. Put it down.
Anthony! Come on. 7-Act, Max. Let me back up now. Got one at gunpoint. Put the gun down!
We ain't got no more bullets.
Mary Jane, I'm gonna shoot him! I'm gonna shoot him!
Hi, welcome to another episode of Carr. I'm Ramon.
And hi, I'm Dana, and today we'll discuss a case out of Virginia where police responded to a man acting erratically, and he walked out the door of the mail and pointed the gun directly at officers. Ramon, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think sometimes as police officers, we don't see the forest for the trees. And what I mean by that is that sometimes we look at situations and we use our biases as opposed to addressing the situation as it is. And I think this was good and bad. The community police aspect of it, possibly good. But the other part of it was, I think he saw someone that he knew that looked like him, because I have to believe in my mind, if this was a black male that this happened to, he would be dead. We've seen this so many times, and I know I don't always want to make these things racial issues, but we got to call a spade a spade. The actions of the officer was horrible. And so when you see a man with a gun, he has a drop on you, the first thing you're trained to do is to try to get to some sort of cover and start just charging rounds downrange. And he didn't do that at all. I don't care if I know the suspect, I know this person or whatever. I'm thinking about, is this person going to take my life, or am I going to take that person's life? Because every day as a police officer, those are the things you have to think about. You have to think about going into these situations, trying to get home. And you'll hear all the time that police officers talk about, I need to get home. I did what I did because I was trying to get home. And then this situation happens and this officer doesn't even think about trying to get home. This male shot several times, eventually striking his car, and came at her with a machete, and all you saw was, John, don't do this, don't do that. I mean, he just showed so much deference to him that it was disappointing. And then at the end, he comes back, and he's all heartbroken that he didn't do a better job. So I'm glad we're able to see this, and I hope that through body-worn cameras, and that I hope that he does a Monday morning quarterback on himself. And I actually hope that this officer gets some sort of discipline for not doing his job. And then you had the second officer, the female officer, who was hiding with a pad in her hand. Like, what are we trained? And like I said, I hate to make this a black and white issue, but I've seen so many times, like, that guy would have been dead if he was black. And I'm sorry to say it, but it just is what it is.
Well, you made a lot of good points. And so one I'll start off with, he did critique himself throughout the event. I wish he would have stayed in the game a little longer, and he did, but I think he spent too much time being hard on himself while the event was active. But nonetheless, he recognized that he could have done this one much, much better. And so with that, as soon as the gentleman walked out the door with the gun pointed directly at him, and mind you, it seems like from the point that we see the video, the officer had his gun out as well. He should have shot him. Period, point blank. But he retreated to cover, and I wasn't happy with his cover because, as he pointed out himself, he shot out his windows. He always stood up straight, so if he would have shot through his window again, he could have caught the officer like midsection there. So he didn't have great cover. The female officer, I don't know what type of training they have, but she did not revert back to, I'm hoping that she had firearms training, and but she did not, because she never, with an armed suspect, drew her weapon. She always had pad in her hand, a paper pad in her hand. And so that leads me to believe she didn't have enough training, because in a stressful situation, you're supposed to revert back to training. So that's definitely one improvement. And also, I wish he would have been more communicative towards her to prompt her to seek cover, because generally when shots are being fired, the first thing that you're concerned about, obviously before yourself, is your partner. Hey, partner, you good? Where you at? I'll cover you. Just different things. Just talk to her to find out where she is while he's shooting, because she could have been shot. He doesn't know. Even just to hear her voice, and to prompt her. So nonetheless, he really took knowing this young man too far. And when he also, another opportunity, when he breached his cover, he came around the car with the machete at that point. I was like, okay, at that point, I think he could have shot him as well, because we have this 21-foot rule as far as with, weapons and stuff. And 21-foot rule means that that's the distance that a person can run to get to you before they stab. But this is a machete. I'm just thinking him throwing that thing, I wouldn't even want to be hit with that thing at all. That's just, it's so much to critique in this incident. But I think the video goes without saying that you don't want to take the chance that someone who's going through a mental health episode and lose your tactics and put yourself and your backup at risk because you know the person. Just be safe at all times, and that wasn't taken here. And even the backdrop, the young man is shooting over. The neighbors could have been harmed as well, so they did go check on the neighbors in that instance. So
I agree.
and one last thing.
Go ahead.
When the backup arrived, and then they decide to go to the door. So this gentleman had already shown you that he'll shoot at the police, and they just kind of walked up to the door. And so I was like, oh my God. But I'm hoping that they would look at this video and critique themselves, because there is definitely a lot to unpack there.
I agree. And to your point, a lot of training. I can't say that she wasn't trained, because there's some basic training that we do as police officers that I'm sure every police department gets. I'll give our police department one thing: they trained our butts to death. They drill stuff in our heads, and sometimes everybody didn't do it the way it was supposed to be done, but at least you had something to fall back on, like you were alluding to. And I look at this situation, and I know we want to be community police officers, and we want to build a rapport and a relationship with the community. But what's your responsibility? One, to yourself. Two, to your family. So you can't love the community more than you love yourself and your family. Absolutely. And so again, I go back to, you see the restraint when it happens to certain people than it does to others. That's how I know police officers have restraint.
Oh, for sure. This is some restraint beyond. And another thing I wanted to point out too, and this is talking about crime scene preservation. So at the end, you have the officers come in and they are saying, I think you should rope it off. I think an investigator's going to come out. I'm like, you had a shooting. You have a police car that shot out. You have one. It just should be preserved anyway, because the suspect shot at you. I just couldn't believe that everyone that responded was dependent on the shooting officer to direct them, when that person should have, been allowed to kind of collect himself, because that was a stressful situation. But they were clueless. They were looking for him for direction. And one thing I can say about our department too, when stuff happened and the scene is stabilized, everybody's like clockwork. They know to go get the crime scene tape, to rope it off, to call ID, to call detectives. And the supervisor's already on the air when something like that, and people, or we go into incident command. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But I just was concerned that they were not prompted into preserving that scene. Like, it wasn't automatic. They just was thinking, I think I should, as opposed to it being an automatic process.
I agree. And the last thing I'm going to say about this is that I'm very critical on the police, because we have this higher authority, this higher training that we have, and thought process that we're supposed to be going through as these situations happen. We have the ability to take people's life and liberty. And so when it works out in our favor, when we have to do that, we exclaim it. But when we mess up, we want to run from it. So we have to make sure that we're either going to be all or nothing. So we can't walk the fine line of, oh, well, I was trying to community police. No, the job is the job. Situations are situations. And I know that you don't want to just readily kill someone, but let the policies and procedures and your tactics that you learn be the guide in the use of force. And after that, you'll be fine. And I know that these situations can be tough, but you still have a responsibility to yourself, your family, and then even also the community at large.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't have anything else.
That's all I got.
Okay, so with that, thank you for watching another episode of Carr to Carr Podcast. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate any feedback that you give, and let us know what you think. What would you have done in this thing in this incident? So, until next time.